Katy Perry, Never Really Over. Welcome to Tea Time here on your Wednesday evening. We are back after a little bit of a hiatus, aren't we, Steve here? And
hiatus for you. You were on holiday. You
I was.
Dirty stop out.
I was in Bali, and it was really tough over there, you know.
I know. We saw. You phoned into us.
I did.
And we saw the.
I know. I had to really rub it in just a little bit more, didn't I?
The conditions were deplorable. I couldn't believe what you had to suffer through. Oh.
Well, we have a very special guest in the studio, Ali. This person is currently the Senator for Western Australia. He's been the Senator since May 2012, grew up here in WA, Port Hedland. I'll let you talk about that more, but please welcome Senator Dean Smith from the Liberal Party. Hello.
It's great to be here, and congratulations for getting back from Bali.
Well, let's not. I know a lot of people that have been on the Jetstar flights, and they're not happy at all.
Perhaps I should say congratulations for getting to Bali. That's exactly right.
That's right. And good on you for supporting the industry. Did you get all your luggage back?
Yes, excellent. I did.
All right, good.
Yes.
So, how do we address you? Do we need to use your honorific? Do you have one? You know, Senator. Do we call you Senator Dean?
You can just call me Dean.
All right.
I'm very,
that is
very
so good, because I was like, are we
relaxed.
going to have to call you Senator Smith? I didn't know. Because every time I refer to you, you'd be like, right, Senator
You
Smith.
don't have to call me ma'am or anything like that.
First time's ma'am, now after that it's mum. It's very. It's got a nice ring to it though, Senator Smith. Is that the goal? Is that just where you want to be? Is that where you sit? Do you have any? What I'm asking you, do you have any leadership aspirations?
Well,
Too early
I like to start with the story that I'm one of those kids at primary school that thought they would be the Prime Minister one day. You know, wrote my letters to local politicians, wrote my letters to the Prime Minister, and didn't end up Prime Minister. It's quite obvious. I'm a senator, so I'm in the other house. I'm in the red leathered chamber.
I think it's
called
the
the Senate.
Yeah.
I think it's better. There's few of us there, so I think it's a little bit more classy. I think the politics are a little bit better, and the people are nicer.
So did you just get? Let's just go because I find it still very confusing. Did you just get re-elected, or are you in the other off cycle?
No, I'm on cycle.
Right.
And,
well, that was not the words to use, but anyway.
I've just been re-elected for another 6 years.
Right.
I'm very, very grateful to West Australian voters for
So
endorsing me again.
you're being recycled.
I've been recycled.
Excellent.
I've been re-elected. So when I go back to Canberra at the end of June, I'll swear on the Bible and take my oath again.
We still do that.
We still do that.
Part of the Commonwealth, aren't we?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great tradition.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, do you get a choice though? Like,
You do.
You can choose like from a range of books.
You can choose from, I think technically you can choose from a range of books, but you get two choices. One is to do the oath, and so you swear, in front of God, and so you might do that on a Bible, you might do that on the Quran, or you take the oath of allegiance, and you sort of swear to Australia's laws, and so there's a important custom and tradition to it, and I'm a bit of a traditionalist like that. I like things to stay the same a bit.
Fair enough.
And I like the traditions and customs of the Australian Parliament.
Kind of with you. I like a bit of pomp and ceremony, just anything a bit of pageantry.
Well, sorry, Al, but the black gowns are gone and the wigs are gone and all those sorts of things. It's just it's business suit and another suitable attire.
I've got a theory about this actually. I think modern Halloween, is just an excuse for everyone to wear capes because everyone wants to wear a cape.
All right.
Except
for those little princesses. Except for those little princesses that come to the door waving their little wand.
So I'm the one that brings everyone back on topic. I think that was my role on the show. But anyway, I just want to flip back because back in 2017, we, as well as gay people, and you're openly gay, we had to endure the plebiscite, which was
a very, very important word. I opposed the plebiscite unsuccessfully, but we endured it.
Amen.
We endured it. We got put through it. But I just want to quickly play. You actually were the architect. I'm reading on your website, your biography, because I do my research.
We updated it today. So
did you?
Fresh off the press.
It'll be interesting to know if it's the updated.
Oh, well, here it is. Here's the architect of the marriage amendment.
And does it
definitions.
talk about me having just been appointed to the Shadow Ministry?
No,
Oh,
I
it's
don't think
yesterday's
so.
and
So
not
you best
today's.
get someone onto that, I think. But I thought I'd just play a little bit. I don't want to, but I thought your speech was very powerful introducing this bill. So I thought we'd just play a little bit of that right now.
And I never believed the day would come when my relationship would be judged by my country to be as meaningful and valued as any other. The Australian people have proven me wrong. To those who want and believe in change, and to those who seek to frustrate it, I simply say, don't underestimate Australia. Don't underestimate the Australian people. Don't underestimate our country's sense of fairness, its sense of decency, and its willingness to be a country for all of us. Not only does our country live these values, it votes for them as well. Thank you.
You know what how does that make you feel listening back to that, right? Because I did warn you about that, but you're like, it might check you up.
How does it feel? It still brings back some of the raw emotions. It was, I think, for all of us, when I say all of us, I mean, the LGBTI community in our country, we experienced it in different ways, but the emotions that we felt were experienced by all of us and are very, very similar. I think it was an unnecessary and traumatic experience for our community. Inexpensive. Delighted the Australian community stood up for fairness. We won the plebiscite. I often go into schools and talk about the plebiscite, and I just ask people young people to stop and think. Had the result been 49-51, what would that have done for our country? What would that have done for our parliamentary process? I think it was a terrible mechanism.
A good scapegoat, though, right?
It was a good scapegoat. It was a political tool, and I opposed it then, and I'll oppose plebiscites in the future. I just think our parliamentary democracy is one that is worth protecting. I think it delivers great outcomes. I would have preferred a conscience vote in our parliament. I think it would have got a very similar result without the plebiscite.
Probably.
But I can...
Did it make you feel, without going too political, did it make you feel, how did it make you feel knowing that there was people within your own party, I suppose, actively and promoting the no vote? How did that feel to you? Were you exposed to that, or?
Yes, and what's important about that is that they weren't just opposed to same-sex marriage. There were some people in the parliamentary party at that time that really did not like the idea that LGBTI people would be given equality before the law.
Right.
I'd never experienced, perhaps I had walked around Western Australia with rose-coloured glasses, but I had never experienced homophobia in a way that I had once I became a parliamentarian. Not just me, because there have been other gay parliamentarians from across other parties at different times. But it was a difficult process. But I suppose when you go into public life as a parliamentarian, you have to put on the positiveness. You have to demonstrate to people that they can be ambitious for their goals, ambitious for their country, and you endure that because that is just part of the job. And if it got too difficult, I could walk away.
Yeah.
If it got too difficult for other people, they could walk away.
The bill itself was something that you must have worked on for quite a while, and I imagine there were people before you that also tried to bring something similar forward. So a combined effort over, how long would you say that this has been leading up to it?
Well, Al, that's a really, really important point. And when I have these conversations with people, I go to great lengths to remind people it was a team effort. There were a number of other parliamentarians involved in this process.
And across the board too.
And across the board, across the parliament. And people often say, watching that video, watching the remarks, watching the parliamentary debate, they actually think it was one of those moments where they could feel proud of their parliament, proud of the political process in Australia. It went through a committee stage, very, very strong support from Equality Australia and people like Corey Earlham and Anna Brown and others, and Louise Pratt, who was a West Australian senator. And, in the interests of, honesty and transparency, when I went to the Parliament in 2012, I didn't support same-sex marriage. I didn't believe the case had been made for it.
I agree with you. I voted no initially. Yeah.
And you were convinced by argument, discussion with friends?
Yeah, it just took a little while for me to have the confidence that people who didn't necessarily represent me knew the best way to... And it
took me a little time. I'm a Liberal parliamentarian, and what that means is I just take my time a little bit. I just take a little bit more time than others to make sure that I measure up the strengths of the case against the weaknesses of the case. Then I chose, with the support of others, to put a bill before the Parliament, remembering that there had been 20-something other marriage bills before my bill.
Wow.
They had all failed.
So what
My
was
bill-
that? How did that? What was the difference there?
What was the difference? And it was a very, very important difference. The bill that I crafted with others had come through a committee process, so we had canvassed the views of other people around the country, religious leaders, LGBTI community. And what we decided to do was to put in a very specific protection for religious views about marriage.
Right.
What we put in our bill that was not in any other bill, we said that if you're a rabbi in a synagogue and the rabbi has a very clear religious view about marriage, his view or her view in that synagogue should be protected.
Yep.
And at the time, that was a very reasonable thing, and I'd argue that it was a very Australian thing. It was the balance that people were looking for, and I think that's why we got a convincing yes vote, and that's why we got such a strong parliamentary majority in the House of Representatives for the bill when it finally reached there. It was a compromise, no doubt about that, but I think it was consistent with what Australians were saying in our own families, in our own communities.
And you know what? Doesn't it feel like so much of our lives as gay people, queer people, is spent just trying to convince others that we're not a threat to them? It's okay, just removing the fear, just allaying their fears. Shh, it's fine.
I think, Al, that's exactly right. And when I look at my experience as a young gay man, so I didn't know I was gay, then I realised I was gay and kept it to myself, and then I shared it with friends, and then I came out to family. And then came out when I stood up in Parliament and said, I'm a gay man. A lot of people said, you don't need to say that, Dean, in the Parliament, because we all know.
Well, I wondered about that, yeah.
Because I think it's very, very important that members of the LGBTI community are visible. They're visible in their communities, they're visible in the Parliament, they're visible because I think there has been in our country for a long time, and I suspect it's a global thing. People want LGBTI people to be invisible.
Yeah.
So it's important to be proud. It's important to stand up for yourself. And those of us that are in privileged positions, that are doing the things that we want to do, we need to be available to support those that aren't yet able to do that.
It must have been tempting, though, when you realised you were going to enter a career in politics, to maybe put the safety of your career at the forefront. It would have been tempting to stay hidden, right? When did you decide that you were going to be an out parliamentarian? And was it at the very start?
I decided I was going to be an out person.
Yeah.
And then everything that I chose to do after I was 22 or 23, I was going to have to accept the fact that some people would find comfort with that, some would be uncomfortable. But I think that for me as a person, whether I'm a parliamentarian or not a parliamentarian, being true to myself is very, very important. So that meant owning it, recognising it, sharing it with my family. And I'm someone who's been very, very lucky. My parents have shown me unconditional love. And I've been out for what feels like a very long time now. But so I made a decision early on that it was important to be who I am, warts and all, so to speak. Not that I think being gay is anything to be ashamed of, not at all.
Nor is having warts.
Absolutely. But when I went to Parliament, I thought I'm going to be a person of integrity. This is who I am. These are the things I stand for. And, people will come to a view, yep, he's a good guy. No, he's not a good guy. But in the end, others will make their judgments. Yeah.
Do you think it's hurt your ability to be effective in your job, though, at any time? Do you think people have maybe opposed bills you put forward just because, they're a bit spiteful, or do you think it's hurt you?
Do I think people talk behind my back? Yes, absolutely. I pick my battles wisely, and I like to think I win 9 out of 10 of them, perhaps even 10 out of 10 of them. I think that gay people have to show much more courage in life, no matter what they are doing, than other people. So I think that the fear that people might have is that perception of us is that we might be stronger than they are. And so therefore the fear is born out of their shortcomings or their perceived shortcomings of themselves. And I think that they might look at LGBTI community think, wow, the amount of courage it takes to be who you are, to be open, to be doing the things that you want to be doing. And I think that's a really important message. Even in 2022, the process of coming out to yourself and then to your community is still as difficult as it was in 20, whatever it was when I came out. Slightly easier than the 50s and the 60s, I'm very, very sure, but we should never underestimate just how difficult it is for people to come to that realisation themselves, trust it, accept it, then share it with family and friends, because that brings risks.
Mm-hmm.
That brings risks.
Certainly does.
And those risks are still here today. Yeah. But we are making it easier for our families and our friends to not be worried and scared for our decisions. And we're making it easier to be honest with ourselves.
You know what? The young people of today face a new difficulty, which is oversaturation. Too much information, right? They're posed with these possibilities at such a young age, and they're given a lot of tools and equipment and love generally. So it is a better situation, I believe. But my gosh, I still wouldn't like to have to do it again, even today.
I wouldn't want to do it again, no.
Yeah.
Have you got any advice for anyone that's, identifies as LGBTI that wants to get into? Because I listen to a lot of podcasts and things of people in the media and a lot of places that it's very important what you said about, you've got to be, what's the word? Courageous in yourself first and then go into what you're doing, because otherwise what I was listening to Narelda Jacobs, I don't know if you're familiar with, from Channel 10, and she was explaining that, although she was openly out, they still silenced her within the company because she wasn't willing to go, no, this is me and who I stand for at the time, because it was hard, to navigate that media. And you're always trying to get a step in the door of every single thing that you're trying to do, but it's still hard now. And you being from Port Hedland, right? Country towns. I grew up in Pinjarra, so there's a lot of, and you're from the country as well. So we still face a lot of those troubles in those towns. So
my grandmother lived in Pinjarra for 40 years.
Really?
On Camp Road.
Oh yes, yeah, I know Camp Road.
Across the road from the primary school.
Yeah, right. I went to Pinjarra Primary and High School.
And
we all have a thing with Pinjarra.
Do you as well?
The best man at my father's wedding was the family that owned the Shell service station.
Tucky.
Related to the Tuckies.
Oh, right. Yes. I know who you're talking about, but
this whole state is a small town, isn't it?
The Nancarrows, you had all sorts of families.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I grew up in Port Hedland because my father was the local policeman.
Right. Okay.
So my parents got married. I was born. Spent a little bit of time here, then we went up to Port Hedland in the 1970s. Port Hedland is a tough town today. It was a particularly tough town there. Cyclones would come through.
I love cyclone season.
Really?
Sorry.
Oh, no.
I know that's an odd thing to say, but as a kid, they could be a lot of fun. If if your house survived, they could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's right, which was not always the case.
Not always the case, and it could be tragic. You've become, I think, just through this conversation, someone that I now look up to. I'd like to know who, paved the way for you. Who did you look up to? Who maybe did you iconize? Is that a word? You know who I mean. You know what I mean.
Iconize,
yeah.
Who did anyone inspire you? Did you follow any of the other people who've forged paths before us?
Oh, he's got the tough questions.
Sorry,
he's good. He's good.
It's almost like there should be someone really, really obvious.
Yeah.
I got the idea that I wanted to be a parliamentarian. Of course, when I was at primary school in grade 3, grade 4, I didn't really know what a parliamentarian was or did.
But they wore suits and they looked snappy.
Well, talking about men wearing suits and being snappy, every Wednesday morning a man would come and hand out the honour certificates at Mirrabooka Primary School where I went. And this man drove around our neighbourhood in a maroon Combi van. His name was Mr. Keith Wilson, and he was the local member for Nollamara.
Oh.
And I got it in my head that I wanted to be like him.
Have you got the combi?
I haven't got the combi, but I have got a Lego combi.
Okay.
The red one.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Lego fan.
That's nice.
Or Lego tragic. Anyway, so a few years ago, I was reading through my mail, And there's a photograph, as a Men's Shed magazine, and there's a photograph of the patron of Men's Shed, and it's Mr. Keith Wilson.
Oh, really?
And he came in and had a coffee with me.
Oh.
And I told him, he was a Labor Member of Parliament, and I said, wow, there we go.
That's terrific.
I know. So to answer your question, Al, I think because I grew up in very, very, very loving but very humble and modest environment, I think I do take a lot of... I am someone who sees the courage in other people, and I take that as sort of energy and sustenance and for myself, because I'm a lucky man. It's a bit like that Verve song. Lucky Man, you know, I am a lucky. Yes, I've worked hard, and yes, I've taken some tough decisions, but I'm a very, very lucky man, and so I always look out for me to see those other people that. You know, are displaying courage, getting on with life.
You're exactly like me. I'm exactly like that. Yeah. Because even growing up in Pinjarra, you know, I wasn't openly out at school. However, everyone knew. They were just like, oh, yeah. Like when I actually came out, they're like, yeah, okay, righto. But I was lucky enough to be in the music program, and I was like, not idolized at school, but people looked up to me. So I had what I'm saying is I had a very easy childhood in terms of being myself.
You were valued.
Yeah, and I didn't. But so I'm the same in a way now. I consider myself very lucky because I know a lot of people that went through some really traumatic experiences at school and still are, and bullying and all that kind of stuff in the LGBTI community.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and I think you're right. You're right. I think it's very, very important to recognise this still happens. This still happens, and it's probably no wonder why birds of a feather flock together. You know, I hung out with a group of people at university, and then, kid you not, in Young Liberals, and then over a period of time we all not became gay because we obviously
did you all sit around and go, right, we're doing this?
This will be a flashdown memory lane for some of you listeners going to DC's on James Street.
I've heard stories.
Oh wow! It was
no idea what that means.
I remember.
I'm too young, I think.
It was bright. The music was great. It must have been sort of mid to late 1990s.
The Red Parrot, was that one?
Before my time out.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I thought I'd get in there really quick.
Fair enough. Good. I'll tell you what, though. Speaking of those merit certificate days, now you mentioned that you wrote to Parliament.
I did.
Do you remember what those issues were about? Was it something to do with canteen lunches? Like, what issues were burning through your mind then?
I wrote to Prime Minister Bob Hawke.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one. And this, of course, is the day of typed letters or handwritten letters, no computer processors and computer processors on my own. And I asked Mr. Hawke for some of his campaign stickers.
Oh, cool.
And guess what I got back in the mail?
You got them.
Campaign stickers.
Not bad.
I think Mr. Hawke might have actually signed the letter, but you can imagine my excitement, you know, Slindon Street, Nullamara, and the mail comes and there's a nice white envelope with a, you know, black Australian Commonwealth coat of arms on it.
Very exciting.
And what was exciting was that, you know, people responded to correspondence.
Yeah.
And so I'm the sort of guy that checks my own emails, opens my own mail, write people a handwritten letter backwards.
Really?
Getting harder and harder for people to read. I am a traditionalist. I'm a man of my word as well.
Oh, amazing.
Speaking of letters, I've got one in front of me. Good segue.
You've got two, Al. You've got two. You've got two, Steve, and I've got two. We've got a total of 6.
Well, so quickly before we go into this, I still struggle to, and you've given the tough questions. I'm going to give you ones that you'll slide right into. What is your role as a senator, right? So people probably don't know. So we just all voted and we went to the polls and there's big sheets get put in front of us and we're like, where do we put the numbers? And a lot of them just go above the line, right? So people specifically voted for you. How does that all work? And then what does your role play in Parliament? And then we can get into.
into the local.
Yeah.
Like, exactly how many people love you?
Well, they must love you because you've been in since 2012. So
Well, yes, but it might be that I'm getting a bigger pool of opponents as well. You never quite know. But what's the job of a parliamentarian? Well, as a senator, I represent the whole state of Western Australia. A member of the House of Representatives like Madeline King or Julie Bishop in her day, they represent a district. They represent a smaller area. So my job is I travel around Western Australia. People talk to me about issues that are important to them in their community, whether it's Kununurra or Esperance or down here in Rockingham. Then, depending on the nature of the issue, I might go and fight for them to get resolution, go to Parliament, talk about the issue. So advocate for change. It could be little things. It could be big things like same-sex marriage. So my job is to be a voice for people, fight for them, and get outcomes for them. And they can be little things, helping someone with an immigration matter, or they can be things that put our country on a much better path. Like I said, the issue of same-sex marriage. So I'm someone who I like being busy, I like being engaged, I keep myself busy and probably am a bit of a workaholic. So I find it very, very hard to say no to people or say no to issues. I have to get better at that because you can't do everything for
Can't be
everyone.
everything to everyone.
Well, because a lot of people say go to your local councillor for this, or go to your local member for Parliament for this, or go to so it becomes very like, well, who do we go to for what? But you're a local man, so we know we can come to you.
Well, as it says on the letterhead,
your local senator.
Your local senator.
Give us
There
a
we go.
rundown. What are these letters that you've got?
So, well, actually, during the campaign, one of the local candidates, a great guy called Peter Hudson here in Brand, asked me to come down and meet Tris and come and have a look at IPR Radio. I came down, not sure what to... IPL? Oh, there we go.
Well, you can go IPLR if you really wanted to, but IPR. You're on the right track.
I'm really relieved that the letter does say IPL and not APR. Where do they... Oh, IPR Radio. There we
Yeah, you got the radio thing. You're trying to slip the radio in there as well.
So IPL. So I come around, talked to Tris, spoke to some of the people. I thought, wow, what a fantastic... What a gem.
We like it.
Well, what an invisible gem.
Yeah.
People can hear you, but people don't really know a lot about it. So I gave Tris a commitment that after the election, win, lose or draw, I'd come back down here and we'd sort of do a bit of a plan to try and get some fundraising happening. Now, of course, governments are full of money. Governments are flush with money. There's $1 billion in the state program for mental health, so I'm giving Mark McGowan a plug, even though I'm not in his party.
But we do, as he does say, we've got a bit of money here in WA, don't we?
I fought very, very hard on the GST. Is that on my biography?
It is on there, yes.
It's on the biography.
And thank you for
fought
that.
very hard for the GST. So WA's got a GST windfall, and I'm saying to the Premier, what about just a little bit for IPL Radio?
Great.
So what we've got in front of us are 6 letters.
Yes.
One's addressed to Christine Morgan, who's the CEO of the National Mental Health Commission, so that's the national mental health body. I've got one in front of me going to Mark Butler, who's the Minister for Health and Aged Care. He's the new federal minister, elected with Anthony Albanese. Who have you got, Al?
I've got the Honourable Madeline King, MP, Minister for Resources.
Excellent. I know that Madeline. I'm sure she'll come to the party. Who have you got, Steve?
Well, of course, I've got Mark McGowan.
There we go.
I might just put my
Now, can you
signature
read?
on
So
there.
on the premiers,
Yes.
The premier.
Oh, there's a note.
I've handwritten
Oh my
notes.
God, are you going to actually try and get me to read this?
Yes, can you read it?
Well, Mark would be able to. Well, shouldn't he be used to LD? Mark. Well, you've said Mark.
Mark, yep.
I trust you are well.
Yep.
All is well. It's all going well.
Yep.
Good stuff. That's nice.
Something to do GST. I think I'm really.
But my handwriting has got considerably worse. So I've written to the Premier in a very formal way, Dear Premier, talk about IPL Radio. Then at the bottom I sign it. I sign all my letters myself. Then I've said in my own handwriting, Mark, I trust all is going well. Surely in the GST windfall there is some financial support for IPL. It's such a remarkable group. Best wishes, Dean.
Surely.
Now, the last sentence in... The last 2 sentences in all of the letters says this: IPL Radio would greatly value your cooperation and energy in securing some modest financial support for their operation. I would be delighted to hear how we could work together to achieve this outcome.
That
Great.
is some wordsmithing right
I
there.
like that.
And you know what I
Wordsmithing.
like?
There we go.
Every handwritten note on the back of these things is different.
Oh.
It's great. It's tailored to them. I love this one. Congratulations, you write to Madeline King. This is a wonderful and inspiring group, as unbelievable
You were trying to show off that you could read that. Now you've
You did
stumbled.
so well for that.
Financial support.
So
yeah.
here we go. And I know Madeline's often on the plane with me when I'm going to and from Canberra.
Oh, no.
So I said, congratulations, exclamation mark. This is a wonderful and inspiring group. And it's unbelievable they have such, that's a good point. They do such wonderful work with little financial support.
The Mark McGowan one's a good one. I think we'll keep that. We'll definitely roll with
Did
that.
you hear
You
that,
can
Stephen?
hand deliver it.
He called us inspiring.
Oh,
I'm blushing.
us personally. Oh, okay.
So I
Then.
think
I
we're
don't know.
included.
Right.
We're part of that.
Oh, I might have to. Okay. So that's amazing. So we appreciate your support. We know that well, Tris and the team here definitely need some financial support because they're carrying all the weight themselves, and it's something that we definitely need to put out there to the universe. And we appreciate you doing that too. It's amazing.
Come on, universe, pony up,
Yeah.
please.
Well, we could probably talk for hours, but you probably want to go to bed. No, I'm just saying you probably had a long day is what I'm saying.
I do start early.
Yeah.
Because I'm an early riser. I call it old man's disease.
Oh, no, I do want to. I put my foot in it sometimes. I probably want to go to
But
bed.
once upon a time, I used to stay out all hours of
I'm
the
sure,
night and
I'm
the
sure,
morning.
I'm
That's
sure.
right.
But you probably do a lot of back and forth between Canberra, I suppose, do you? Or
Yeah,
when are you off
travel.
there next?
Around the 20th of July back there, we got first 2 weeks. Parliament opens, new government, new Prime Minister.
So,
exciting.
just going back to the letter, because you put a lot of effort into these letters, can anyone listening, how can they get involved in pushing this as well? Is there anything they can do?
I've got an idea. Why don't they send me an email?
Yep.
With their, send me an email. Then what I will do is I will email them back these letters.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they could write their own note on the letter
Oh, great.
and send it to the Premier,
Yeah, sure.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Sounds
That
like
would
a
be good.
plan. Great. We'll get
And
the
'cause
email address on the
And
website.
it goes back to your point, Al. It's local, and it's real. And if because these days in emails and messages and all, you never really know if someone's really interested or paying attention. But when you print it off, you put your own handwritten note on it. You put it in an envelope with a stamp. And, of course, on the Premier's letter, it's got his post office box.
And if you're like me and you don't have a printer at home, I'm sure Tris or someone on the team, we can get them some printed out
Have
for
you
you.
seen
Can
their
pop into
printer?
the No.
It's amazing.
Is it? Okay. Everyone goes to me, I need you to print something, like, you've got to print it off and sign it. I said, what? Can't we DocuSign? No, you can't DocuSign.
It's got
The other
weight.
important thing just about our little fundraising effort is one of the things I've learned in politics and Parliament, it's important to share the success. So whatever success we might have is the community's success, is IPL's success. That's really, really important. Not a Liberal success, not a Labor success, not a Dean success, not a Mark McGowan success, a community success. Because one of the things I take out of the federal election result is that people are getting tired of politics. They're getting tired of Liberal versus Labor. They just want to see community outcomes. They want to see people working together to improve the lives of all of us here in Western Australia.
And we are so happy that we also have a voice as you as an openly gay person for the LGBTQ community, and you always will in Parliament, which is very important as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Do we have anything else to say? We could keep going, but
Do you want to ask me about my favourite song?
what's your favourite song? Well,
Got a story
I've got
attached to
I've got the search button ready for that question.
I'll tell you a quick
Hoping we
story.
have it.
In the very early 90s, I went to London for the first time. I love London. I'm a bit of an Anglophile. Went to London. I was going on a Kentucky tour. I had a couple of nights in London by myself, so I built
to
up the
heaven.
courage. And I went to
Did you go to Soho?
not heaven. I went to
Oh yeah, GAY.
It was GAY, where you walk down the stairs off Tottenham Court Road. I went by
Been there
myself,
many times.
full of trepidation. And this song was playing, and it'll date me, and I could not believe it. I certainly had no courage to get on the dance floor by myself. D-Ream,
Yep.
Things Can Only Get Better.
Oh my goodness.
It is
All
a
time.
great song.
Yeah.
And it's such a positive song. And it was, I just felt so sort of excited going down, nervous as hell. Don't get me wrong, I was quite a shy gay. Probably am still a shy gay, but it was such a fantastic song.
It's kind of an anthem.
It is an anthem.
think
I know
it's
the
a
song.
great
Who
choice.
sings it?
D-Ream.
Oh, I hope that all I've got is the track here, and I'm hoping it's the right
Fingers
one.
crossed.
Let's just hope. Thanks so much.
It's great, guys. Love to
Thank
come
you
back.
so
Yep.
much, Senator Dean Smith.
Anytime.
And if you want to get involved, well, a good thing you can do is this video will be up on the socials, so you can share it if you want to get involved with this initiative as well to help support IPL Radio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Take care, guys.
And hopefully this is the song. Let's play it, and I'm hoping.